For joining us. I'm really excited about today's workshop. We're going to be talking about your marketing plan for 2026. Some of the topics specifically, I want to hit on the trends that I think you should be watching for in 2026. And I want you to be able to set your revenue targets along with your marketing budget for every single month. I'm going to provide you with some tools that you can play around with, and you could make adjustments and figure out exactly how many leads you'll need, what your budget should be, and so on. I think you'll find that that is dealing with everything. In these next minutes, I'm just going to ask you to try to shut down distractions. It's really important to work on your business. We tend to not give our business enough time, but it's so important that we invest time working on our business. And this is one of those workshops. So please be aware of the distractions that may come your way. Who am I? Real briefly, I've been in this basement waterproofing space for 30 years. I published a book on digital marketing and basement waterproofing. I'm an owner in running the Basement Boardroom, which is a coaching group for basement waterproofers. I coach about 30 digital marketing agencies. I have a podcast, and I've been involved with the Basement Health Association for about 15 years. Most importantly is our agency specializes in helping basement waterproofing and foundation repair contractors grow. So let me jump right into trends. Consumer preferences have really changed over time. We live in a world where people order food on their phone and it gets delivered to them within an hour or two. We need a taxi. We don't call a taxi company. We pull up Uber and Lyft and just order it, and it shows up within, well, it will say 5 minutes, but it's usually 15. But we're so used to just using our phones and we don't have to talk to people. And that's one of the biggest preferences that have changed. And then AI continues just to dominate our space. So AI seems to be everywhere. And in relation to lead generation and marketing, boy, it provides so many advantages. You could have AI basically have conversations with people, 24/7, which I wouldn't recommend, but definitely after hours and on weekends, you'll want someone to talk to potential leads, and AI can do that for you. Of course, you can't ask your employees to be working through it in the night, and that doesn't make sense, but to have AI there and to provide information and to send off a calendar link to book an appointment, you get way faster response times. That's another great tool for AI. And the big one I'll unpack a little bit more. More and more homeowners are asking, who's the best waterproofer in my area? Who are the top companies? And so I'll walk you through what that could look like. So two-way texting. Boy, if you have a CRM system that can do two-way texting and it's built right in there, and all your texts are recorded and tied to that contact record, it's a huge thumbs up to you. Way to go. Now, if you could just lean into that and use it, that would be a great thing. It's a great advantage. You can confirm appointments. You'll get fewer no-shows. You'll waste fewer reps' time driving out to appointments because you can confirm through text, and people are so comfortable with that. So be aware of two-way texting. I would definitely prioritize that in 2026. Online scheduling, more and more people just want to book appointments online. They don't want to talk to someone. And you could provide a form with, enough relevant information that you could weed out the majority of any kind of non-eligible appointments. And you could also sort of soft schedule that for the clients that we used online scheduling for. Some of them require both homeowners to be there so that no matter what, every single appointment, they're calling back anyway, and they sometimes will move that appointment depending on what the situation is. But at least you can capture the homeowner's name, address, phone number, email. And from there, at least now you're in a position to be able to get a rep out in front of that homeowner. So highly recommend get a calendar on your websites in 2026 if you don't already have that. Authentic video creation. Now, this is just a consumer preference. In the world of AI, it's it's not that difficult to create high quality content with lots of internal links and good images and header tags and H1, H2, all the right SEO strategies that should be inside of a blog. But what's really hard to replicate is just good, authentic videos. And I would recommend that you interview your staff and get individual videos up there on your website and put it under your About Us page and just it's just like a 30 to 45-second video for each key employee and just say, hey, introduce yourself. What do you do here? And what do you like about the company? And people watch that and they connect with real authentic people. They like that. It builds trust. AI follow-up, we talked about this a little bit, but there's a lot of different AI tools that are out there that can create speed to lead faster, that can nurture leads, that can identify missed calls and send out a text and an email and notify people. There's all sorts of automation that can happen. So if you're not using that, be aware of it in 2026 and you may prioritize. You can't do all these things at one time. And you can certainly get help. Whatever agency you're working with should be able to do this. I know we certainly do all these things. All right, here's an interesting one. This is very new. So this is being recorded in mid-December. So now we're seeing this in plumbing, HVAC, landscaping, and there's some other home improvement areas. I have not personally seen it in basement waterproofing, where Google is trying to pull you into Gemini and offering you the option to get prices for whatever you're looking for. So I typed in plumber near me, and here's this little new box right next to more businesses. It says, have AI get prices. So what's happening is Google, who owns Gemini is competing with ChatGPT, who has the highest percentage of users right now over Perplexity and Claude and all the other ones. And so they're trying to get more users. And I think it's a really smart play. But what does that mean for you? What that means for you is you should have on your website, and you could also put it in your Google Business Profile where it says products. You should have your pricing. And you don't, when I usually tell this to a contractor, they're like, oh, I don't want to put pricing up, and I'm going to be excluded before they even hear me. I want to get in the door and I want to talk to them. And that's fair. But so many homeowners are shopping prices ahead of time that you may be excluded if you don't put any prices up. So, and there's a way to do this by putting a range up and not excluding yourself out of the game, but also not committing to your prices. So they say like, hey, wait a minute, that's not what it says on the internet. How come you're pitching me this? There's a way to do that so you can maintain your trustworthiness and credibility and so on. But I am recommending that you put prices up on your website. So the real challenge with marketing, boy, there's just so many options. Where do you put your money? What lead sources are working? How do you measure all this stuff? It's kind of where we're going to go. I want to position you so that you can at least build that foundation so you can start digging into this at a deeper level. So I want to get into how many leads do you really need to hit your goals? Do you have your goals done for 2026? Are they written down? And then are they broken out in a per monthly basis? I want to help position you to get there. And I'm going to share a calculator with you. And I'm going to give you a workshop, a spreadsheet. And it will be in the just under this YouTube video. You could access it and it will force you to make a copy. And we'll go from there. Before I show you the calculator, you're going to need, yeah, it's going to help you figure out how many leads and your budget and so on. And this is what it looks like. But before we go there, some of the things that I want to mention are, we know that even if you're in an area where weather's pretty consistent, your business fluctuates from month to month. And it can be challenging to figure out what your budget should be, let's say in December or January versus, say, April or May. I ran a waterproofing company in Chicago for 15 years, and December was typically our worst month. Not always, but usually. Months like April, May, the October, those are always our best months. So you have to adjust your budget accordingly. Now, if you are keeping track of this, what I recommend that you do is you look at your last 3 years and you add up all your business where it came up per month, and then figure out what percentage of your business came in on a monthly basis. And then use that percentage, and you're going to multiply that by your revenue goal, which I'll show you. So you're going to need to adjust for the seasons. All right, so here's the calculator. This will be in the link below, and it allows you to set your revenue goal. So let's say you want to do, you're at 2.6 million in 2025, and you're like, I want to hit 3 million. So put in the 3 million. You need to put your average sale. Let's say your average sale is, I'm going to pay, say, $15,000. For cost per lead, I'm leaving 250 if you can get it under that because you have lots of referrals or something, or repeat customers. Great, hats up to you. Sometimes people are paying more. Sometimes it's 350, but because they have the referrals and returning customers, it all balances out. So what I'm saying is put all of your leads in here and then figure out what you spent, let's say last year, all your leads last year, all your marketing spend, and then get an average. I think 250 is a good number to work with, but you could adjust that. What I'm going to do with this is, in my world, it's not a lead unless I have a date, a time, and a homeowner and eligible problem, they speak English. So I'm going to say it, 100% book rate is a lead. Now, not all leads turn into presentations where prices are given, right? So sometimes homeowner's not home. Sometimes it's actually the hot water tank. Sometimes they cancel ahead of time. You booked it before you got out there, they canceled. So I'm going to go with 90% here. And then a close rate. What do you or your sales reps average for a closing percentage? I'm going to go with 30 here. Now I know how many leads I need for the entire year. So this is a projected revenue for the entire year, 3 million. This is my marketing budget that I'll need per year. I should get a return on ad spend of over 16%, which is outstanding. Only a marketing budget of just over 6%, which again is outstanding. I like the 10%. I'm very happy with 12%. So these are the calculations that showed up. Now, what you can do is fill this in. So I'm going to put my revenue goal right here, and I'm going to put 3 million. And that didn't work because I didn't put it in the right spot. All right, so what the equation I have here is I took the 3 million and I talked about the percentage of business that I typically averaged. This is what I averaged about when I ran my business. I mentioned December was the worst, so only 4% of our business came in during that. So for December, it would be 3 million times the 4%, be 120,000. January, 6% of my business came in. So 3 million times 6%, revenue goal is 180. Now this might be whatever, 15,000. Maybe it's 20,000. I don't know. So we could change this. Just drop this in here, whatever it is. Closing percentage, it's probably going to be the same. And then this is going to change as well. So if I'm using this calculation, I'm going to go 6.2 here, 2%. Didn't need to do that. So I would take this and drop it here. And that didn't work. You get the idea. Try that one again. Huh. Okay. You know where I'm going here. So what I'd like you to do is, if you're in here, you've already made a copy and you could play around with this. There's some formulas that are built in. So I'm going to start with January and I'll walk you through this. So I need $180,000 of revenue. How on earth am I going to bring that in? I'm going to put 180,000 here. My average sales 15, paying 250 per lead about, and I'm close percentage of about 30%. So now I am going to need 44 leads and I need 40 presentations. So let me fill that in. 40 leads here, 44, 40. And this will even tell me the number of sales that I need. I need 12 sales. And my marketing budget is 11,000. It said 11111. Now I have my goal for January. And you could do that same thing for each month. And now you have a marketing budget for every single month to hit these goals. So there's a little key down here, the steps on how to fill this out. There's 5 steps. And this is a clever tool to set your goals for the year. All right. So if you do that, I talk to enough contractors to know that most contractors do not do this exercise. And that's going to start to help you get organized. And I know what you're thinking. You're saying, hey, sometimes it rains heavy and I spend more money or I spend less money and the weather is such a variability. I don't set goals because whatever happens, happens. I can't buy into that thinking. I think you need a goal. There's so many studies that say when you set your goals and you write your goals down, when you look at your goals, you get better results. Just study after study after study says that. And it kind of depends on how motivated you are, what you're looking to accomplish with your business, with your life, and so on. So I've given you the tools. This is the easiest I've ever seen it to write your goals down, to figure out what they are. There's formulas built into this. There's a calculator. I'm really eliminating excuses. So make that happen and make it work for you. And also, as you saw, it gives you your marketing budget. So use that. Now there's 3 ways to increase revenue. You can get more leads, which would cost more money typically. You can improve your closing percentage, or you can increase your average ticket. And once you start tracking these things and you're like, this is interesting. I don't like spending all this money on leads. Okay, maybe you can try to close your leads a little bit harder or do better follow-up, or maybe you can increase your average ticket size. So once you start studying these numbers, working on your business and trying to improve, that's when you can get better. If you're not measuring it, you can't improve it. So once you start measuring things, you can improve them. So here's a good way to give you some fuel, to give you the consistency to go after your goals. Figure out your why. What's your why? Simon Sinek, had that famous TED Talk, and then the publishers talked him into writing a book on it. And he has a great video on knowing your why. And he talks about Apple computers. And so many employees were aligned with the why. So, what is your why? And it would be really good to write that down, and better yet, if you could take a picture of that, like what motivates you, what gets you to show up every day and be fully present and engage in your business and work efficiently, intelligently, to help grow your company. What is that why? So it'd be really good to help to write that down to help give you that consistency required to grow. And here's, if we could use money as a motivator, what would an extra $100,000 do for you in 2026? What would it mean? Would it mean just more financial freedom, more peace of mind, less crisis mode? Would it mean, you could afford um, college tuition, your daughter's wedding? What is it? It certainly gives us more options when we have more money. But can you make a plan that's achievable so that that can happen? We're doing the math here. We can figure out how that could happen instead of just hoping that it rains and something happens. So one of the important factors, if you've heard some of these webinars in the past, I certainly have hit this topic, is your website. Does your website load fast? Does it build trust? Is it built to convert a web visitor into a lead? That's just the most important factor there is. And that's part of adding online scheduling. It's part of creating two-way texting, is make it easy for people to get in touch with you. I like to compare this to fishing. If you're fishing for new customers to work with, if you had 5 different poles with different bait, wouldn't you have a greater chance of catching a fish that way than one pole that they can call you or fill out a form? When you are using online calendars, when you're using two-way texting or chat, and you have a website that converts, that loads fast, it has great content, authentic video, good images, you're not using stock photos. This builds trust with homeowners, and they're drawn to you because they trust you. They feel like they know who you are. Boy, customer reviews absolutely critical. Um, just talked to someone who's been in the business for a while, and they only have 12 reviews, and they know it. I know, I got to do that, but this is really important. If you want to get leads, if you want to grow your business, if you're passionate about your mission of helping homeowners in the area to create safe space for their families get a quality job at a good, fair price, um, you're going to need reviews, because 90% of people are looking at reviews and they're judging you. So you may have a 5.0 rating, but if you only have 25 reviews and everyone else is 100 or 1,000, who would you call? Who would you trust? So think about that. Increase your closing percentage. Boy, that's a big one. Um, you know, got to ask, what are you going to do in 2026 to invest into your sales reps or invest into you? If you're a sales rep, how are you going to get better? Are you listening to books? Are you going to conferences? Are you talking to other people? Are you sharing notes with your own reps? Are you running with other reps so you can learn from each other? These are all good strategies to increase your revenue. And are you able to track your leads per lead source and per appointment? Do you know what you're paying per lead? Do you know what you're paying per appointment? Just all your costs, all your return on investment. What you measure gets improved. That's just how it is. And now these are all work on your business kind of strategies. I'm going to advocate for my own agency. I would encourage you to work with an agency that specializes in this space. We happen to. I know there's 2 or 3 others that really understand this business, that have been working in this space a long time. There was a season that I had a storefront in a decent sized suburb in Chicago, and we would get people coming in with all sorts of ideas. They're going to be the next, Steve Jobs and be on Shark Tank, and they want me to sign a non-disclosure agreement before they share their plans. And the downside to working with an agency that kind of does a little bit of everything is all that time invested in trying to figure out what works best in that industry takes away from really mastering the one industry that another agency might specialize in, like what we do. So I want to share with you another scorecard, and it's a list of things for you to look at, and you could give yourself a green light, red light, yellow light, and just it's a way to prioritize, and it's going to help build your plan for the first quarter of 2026. And some of the categories on this are, you know, look at your organic leads. Do you know how many organic leads you're taking in? Everyone loves the organic leads because they're free, but in almost all cases, you have to do something like either pay an agency or be really good at it. Maybe you have someone on your team that really understands local SEO and you're paying them to increase your presence in the organic area and the local search engine optimization area of Google. The paid leads. LSA stands for local service ads. It's a very good way to get leads. You're being charged on a per lead basis from Google. And then I think we all know what Google Ads is, but it's good to evaluate, like, how are you doing with these paid leads? Are they being optimized? And then if so, how do you know? And then your database. Do you have a good, clean CRM system that has accurate information? And do you work that database? Are you keeping in touch with your customers, either with a newsletter or an occasional text? Newsletters. If you're doing something like this, try to come from help. Don't always just be selling and trying to get back in the house. You want to give tips like, avoid frozen discharge lines or make sure your gutters keep clean. There's all sorts of different topics that you could write about to send out newsletters. Yeah. So evaluate yourself with this. Here's some more. Do you have a website that's very high converting? So here's an interesting thing. If you have 1,000 visitors, and let's say you convert 20% of those visitors into leads, so 1,000 visitors, 200 leads, that's 20%. Gosh, what if you were able to move that, say, even to 22% by making some changes on your website or your online presence? Those are additional leads, and that stays with you. So you want a website that is high converting, and I'm not going to repeat the many items that I mentioned earlier. And I talked about Google reviews. You have a culture of Google reviews. Are you using automation? There was a day when automation was expensive and was complicated. It's getting easier and it's getting less expensive. And there's lots of different ways that you could use it in your lead generation strategies to help you get more leads. I don't know about you, but I am locked into my dentist automation system. So I get these reminders every 6 months, your appointment's coming, and I love it. Like, I don't have to call them. It's just, it's in the system. I get reminders, and it's a beautiful thing. And more people are just used to that world. And I would encourage you to lean into that technology. Knowing your marketing spend, what your goal is ahead of time, and then what you need to spend to reach that goal, and then what your cost per lead is. And can that be improved? Can you create more referrals? Can you work your existing customers? And then being able to measure your return on investment. Those are all really important things that you should recognize. So I just covered about 9 topics. You can go through here and change these to whatever you want. Maybe, you're really locked in on organic paid leads. You could, you don't want to spend the money, but you need to. So you're gonna make that one red. Google Ads, you have a budget. You're comfortable with what happens there. Maybe leave it as yellow. Red, you're not doing much data reactivation. You kind of sell it and you're done when there's kind of a big opportunity for you to improve that. So you can just go through here and change the color. Green is you're good. Red is like it really needs attention. And then you could use this as a way. And what I was going to say is you could add a whole bunch here. There's so many different things to work on. I'd recommend to try to keep your list to 3. three most important things to work on. So out of this list of 10 here, I have 1, 2, through 5 in red. So if I wanted 3, I would have to, rule out which ones are not a biggest priority right now, and which ones that I could fix. So this tool, again, you'll need to make a copy to get access to it, and it will be under this YouTube video. All right, so that's what that looks like. Try to identify your top 3 priorities for the first quarter. So what we've discussed is trends in digital marketing. Please keep your eyes open for these, and these are also customer preferences. We really need to change with the times. If you could set up automation and texting and even AI conversations, that would be a huge step for you. I'm sure, like online calendars, all this would do is create more leads. So if you want more leads for pretty inexpensive prices, I would say definitely lean into this. Use that calculator and set those goals. For some of you, this is going to be the first time ever that you could have a monthly revenue goal with a marketing budget for the upcoming year. And then you could track it. And at the end of every month, you could then put in how do we do on the budget, how we do on the revenue. And then once you start looking at this stuff, then you could start making changes and improve it. Once you measure, you can improve. So keep that in mind. And create your first quarter action plan. Like, what are the 3 biggest areas that you want to impact? As owners, we get pulled in so many different directions. It's really important that we work on our business and we know what's most important to work on our business. So when we get those little windows of time that we could influence and impact the business, we're able to identify the list and say, there it is. I've got to make improvement, try to do a little bit every single day in that area, whatever that area is. If you're looking for any help, we do offer a free strategy session. We can show what your online visibility looks like. If you want some tips on what you should be focusing on in 2026 in the first quarter, I'm happy to have a discussion with you. Please reach out for help. We're happy to discuss things with you. And here's our contact information. You could reach us by phone, and we do have an online calendar. So you could find it on our website under contact, and we're here to help. So let's make 2026 a great year. Take action now, get your goals done, and make it happen. Thanks for joining us today.